The lights go green and away we go into turn 1 as we look on to the Canadian Babin as he goes into turn 1. Everything fairly clean so far into turn 1. Some contact further back, but nothing major now as we go down Mountain Straight. Now, Babin is technically the lead car here, as we had a few cars that were not registered that entered this race. So technically here, looking back, Babin is the lead car with Nordell just behind into P2 as we go into Griffin's Bend here, and there's contact between the two of them, and Babin goes round, and I think everyone manages to get through fairly safely, but no, there's a bit of a pile up there. I think the first few cars got through safely, and then someone, like usual, didn't slow down enough, and I think there was some contact. Let's see what happened initially. So let's have a look here on board of Nordell in the 777 Mercedes, who here is technically in P2 with Babin in P1. As they go down Mountain Straight here. So the Mercedes seems to have the greatest straight line speed here in the slipstream of the Porsche. Babin goes defensive. Nordell tries to go around the outside here, and let's see what happens. Oh, just into the back of the Porsche, and he hits the wall and manages to stay away from trouble. Babin spins, and I think that, yeah, a couple of cars that just didn't slow down in time get collected, which is a shame there, because the start was fairly clean up until that point. So here looking at Nordell, who is in P1 here. He's the overall leader, but however with damage on the front of the car because of that contact we saw into turn 2. And here he goes really deep and right across the grass here, and doesn't seem to slow down too much, but he has lost time to the car behind, which is Watson in the black and green Bentley, who was closing in on him, and I think, yeah, he has actually gained time on Nordell there. Even though Nordell didn't seem to slow down too much, he did lose a bit of time for that excursion across the grass. There we can see the black and green Bentley of Watson closing in. This will be the battle for the race lead when he does manage to catch. Here we have Howe, who is in P6 here behind Herkova, who's in P5, and just behind we see actually Byrne and Fantozzi, who are battling in for P7 and 8 there. We see there just behind. Howe's not quite close enough to Herkova to make a move into the chase, I don't think. No, not quite close enough. However, behind we see Fantozzi made a move on Byrne into the chase, and now here Howe gets a brilliant exit into Murray's corner. However, he has to go the long way round. Herkova forcing him wide. Herkova taking a narrow angle though, which means Howe gets a much better exit, and round the outside he goes. And Howe will move into P5 now, and will be looking for his way up the grid after he actually started at the back of the grid after having a grid penalty due to the previous race. He started at the back of the grid and he's already up into P5. A brilliant start from him as this big group of cars get past a back marker. Byrne is on the back of Herkova. 2 laps ago we saw Howe make a move on Herkova. He's now a long way up the road. Here we have 3 cars that all 3 of them have a bit of front end damage. Herkova in the Aston Martin, Byrne in the Bentley, and Robs in the Ferrari. Now is Byrne close enough to make a move into the chase? It's a overtaking spot here, an overtaking opportunity, but Robs is going to have a look here down the inside of Byrne. However, he mounts the curb slightly. Byrne gets a much better exit and manages to hold on to that position, and Herkova will be glad that those 2 were battling out, which gives him a bit of breathing room, and manages to open a bit of a gap because I think he has the most damage. Byrne will be looking for a way to try and get past and trying to get into P6. As Robs has a little look there to see if there is a move, but there isn't one into Hell Corner. Now onto the Mountain Straight. Does the Bentley have the straight line speed to catch the Aston? We know out of these 3 cars, the Ferrari is the one that has the highest straight line speed. but I don't think he got a good enough exit to try and make a move on the Bentley. They come into Griffin's Bend. All three of them fairly clean there. Now coming into the cutting, and there's yellow flags being shown. And what's happened here is someone has spun as they all make it through the corner safely there. However, Rob's losing it there, and as we see, spinning into the wall. And now we've just cut to up ahead. This is the battle for P1 with Nordell still in the lead. However, Watson has cut the gap down to just under 2 seconds, gaining 0.4 of a seconds on the mountain and sector 2 there. How close is he as we cross the line? Let's have a look. There goes Nordell. And there goes Watson. 1.4 seconds now is the gap between the two of them. Watson still closing in, and he'll be wanting to get moved. And Nordell goes deep onto the grass. He tries to keep his foot down, which means he loses it. Is he going to lose it? He does, and into the wall he goes. Watson takes the lead of the race, and Nordell now has to go a whole lap with severe front end damage. And I think he tried to save the spin by keeping his foot down while he was on the grass, which just, I think, made it worse for him. And now he has to go a whole lap before he can pit with severe front damage, which is not what he wants to do. And there we see Watson now in the lead of this race. A silver class driver is P1 overall. So here we are around the halfway point of the race. Watson still in the lead of the race, however still yet to make a pit stop. He has a bit of front end damage through a collision with a spinning car earlier on in the race, but not too heavy damage. He's putting in some good lap times, and he is still in P1. However, again, like I mentioned, yet to pit, but he has a nice gap to P2, who is Howe, which is absolutely incredible. Like I said, started at the back of the grid due to some grid place penalties from the last race. However, he's managed to get himself all the way to P2. However, not too far behind him, you see in the distance there, is Fantozzi. Now, Fantozzi has incredible pace and has been closing in on Howe. So I don't think it'll be too many more laps where Fantozzi will be back on the back of the Brits Ferrari. That'll be an interesting battle for P2 between the two Ferraris. But yeah, so P1, 2 and 3 are all yet to pit as we get to the halfway point of the race. So here we are on the end of the lap. Is Watson going to go? Yes, he does. Watson is going to go for his pit stop now. Now, is he going to decide to fix the damage on his car? If he decides not to fix it, he'll have a shorter pit stop and will probably have track position. However, if he does fix it, he'll have a faster car when he comes out the pits, but may lose track position. So it is going to be a vital decision he makes here, whether he fixes damage or not. As here he comes into his pit box. We should be seeing Howe and Fantozzi coming down the main straight any moment now as the mechanics get to work on the Bentley. There goes Howe and there goes Fantozzi as those two are now through to P1 and P2. The 777 Mercedes, the Swedish driver, has managed to get himself all the way back to P4. However, he has quite a hefty amount of damage on the right-hand side of the car, and right behind him is Stosic in the red Mercedes that's really hounding at the back of him. And not too far behind is Murray in the Ferrari. This is the battle for P4, 5 and 6, and it's going to be a close one. As they all come across the mountain here, it's not the easiest place to overtake Bathurst. You've got to get it done mainly into Hell Corner, Murray's Corner, or the Chase as the main overtaking points. As we saw Murray getting really close now. He made up a lot of ground on the mountain there. That Ferrari clearly has a lot of pace across the top there. Now onto the downhill section, onto Conrod Straight. They come. Is one of them close enough? Nordell looks like he has a sufficient gap. However, Murray is pretty close to Stosic. Is Murray going to have a look into the chase? Here they come. And to turn 20, the little flat out kink. Don't think Murray was close enough. No, not quite close enough. As they come into Murray's corner here. Now here, Fantozzi is right on the back of Howe. This is for the lead of the race. This is P1 and P2. However, they are yet to pit. The driver that was in P1, Watson, has pit. So these two, especially Fantozzi, will want to get this move done as quickly as possible so he doesn't waste much time battling, because he'll be wanting to get some good lap times so that they can jump the Bentley in the pits. Now here into Griffin's bend, he's not quite close enough to the Brits Ferrari, and he might have to stay behind for the mountain section here. And Howe goes deep here into the cutting, and Fantozzi's going to go down the inside. They're side by side coming out of the cutting into Quarry Corner. Are they going to follow each other side by side? Yes, they are. Fantozzi trying to go round the outside, and he's going to have the inside for this line, and that is a brilliant overtake by Fantozzi. Initially a mistake by Howe, but Fantozzi bravely round the outside and then down the inside of Quarry Corner, which means he now has the lead of the race as they come down Skyline into the dipper here. And that was a brilliant overtake by Fantozzi, and he is now in the lead of this race. Into Forest's elbow they come. So he'll be wanting now to pull away and get in some good lap times, because this race could be won in the pits here. However, Howe, apologies, is quite close to him. Is he going to be close enough as the time they come into the chase? I don't think so. They're both in Ferraris, very similar straight line speed, so unless you got a much better exit out of Forest's elbow, I don't think he's close enough. No, not close enough to make a move, and Fantozzi will hold on to the lead of the race. Now, it has Howe lost the position, meaning he's going to go into the pits? Yes, it is. Howe is going to go into the pits now. He's going to do his pit stop. He does have a 10-second penalty to serve from the previous race in the pits. And Fantozzi now in clean air will want to put in some really good lap times here if he wants to stay ahead of Watson by the time he does his pit stop. Talking of Watson, let's have a look where Watson is on track. Here he comes into the chase. Now, based on where he is, he should safely come ahead of Howe. Well, Howe should come out behind him because Howe does have that 10-second penalty to serve in the pits. Here comes Watson down the main straight. Yep, he's still there, and Watson now up into P2 will also be wanting to put in some really good laps. He's currently 38 seconds behind Fantozzi. He'll want to bring that down to around 30 seconds if he wants to stay in P1. So here comes Fantozzi. Is he going to pit now? He is running low on fuel. So it would be an ideal time for him to pit. It looks like he's staying out. No, a last minute decision to come into the pits, it looks like, and into the pits he goes. Takes the chicane really well here. You want to get a really good entry here to lose minimal time. Slows down enough for the pit lane limiter as he comes into the pits. Now, where is Watson on the track? He is coming into the chase now. Now, Watson fixed that damage in his pit. Fantozzi has no damage to fix. And just topping up fuel, he might have track position. However, Watson on new tyres, he is going to be on fresh tyres here now. Here he comes onto the main straight. Where is Fantozzi? Is he coming out the pits here? Yes, he is. He's coming out and he's past the pit limiter line. He will be coming out and holding on to P1. And he has jumped Watson in the pits. Now Watson on warm tyres and fresh tyres, he will be really hunting that Ferrari down. Can Fantozzi get the tyres warmed up enough to try and fend off the challenge from Watson? Now there's not too many laps to go, and Watson has to make up a 1.6 second deficit here first before he can even try and make a move on Fantozzi. This will be really interesting to see. A great battle that will probably be going down to the wire between these two as they come through the cutting here. There goes Fantozzi. Here comes Watson just in the background. Look at them as they fly as close as they can get to the wall. Here we have a huge battle for P4. Nordell still holding on to P4 in his slightly damaged 777 Mercedes. The Swedish driver doing an absolutely brilliant defensive job here. Stosic still hasn't found a way past, and neither has Murray. However, they have been caught by Babin, who I have to say, an absolutely brilliant drive by him after the collision that he had with Nordell in turn 2 on the very first lap. And he's managed to claw himself up to P7 here, and potentially could get all the way into P4 if he manages to get past this group of cars. But it's very hard to try and get past one another when you're running this close to one another throughout the whole mountain section. And here they come into Griffin's Bend, and there's a bit of a gap opened up between Stosic and Murray. Is Babin going to have a little look here on Murray? It's hard to make a move on the mountain. He just needs to stay as close as possible to try and get a good exit out of Forrest's elbow, and maybe make a move into the chase. And look how close the Porsche of Babin gets to that wall, really on the limit. It's brilliant to see drivers on the limit. Is Stosic going to have a look? No. Nordell goes defensive. Look how close they all get to one another, coming down into the dipper they go. And now approaching turn 17 into Forrest's elbow, into turn 18 Forrest's elbow. Here they come onto the exit. Is someone going to get a good exit here? Surely someone, when they're running this close, is going to get a good exit. Is it the two Mercedes? It looks like it is. However, they're similarly powered, but Nordell with the damage might have less horsepower than Stosic. Stosic in the slipstream here. Is he going to make a move? Maybe he's going to make a move into turn 20, or maybe into the chase. Look how close he is. I think it's going to be into the chase. Is he going to go to the inside? Yes, he does. It's a late move into the inside. He hits the curb and goes into the side of Nordell, who has to go across the grass. And he comes back ahead, but has to yield the position as Murray and Babin now get past Stosic. And I think Stosic slowing down here to let Nordell back through, and Murray and Babin will be happy to take those 2 free positions. Nordell will probably be a bit annoyed that he lost those positions. However, Babin here, he's going to have a look onto Murray. He has a little look here. Murray goes deep. Babin's going to get the position here. Nordell loses the back end also. And did he hit the wall? I'm not too sure. He's off the screen there, but there he is. And Babin goes from P7 all the way to P4. He's come off best here, avoiding any collisions, and these guys were battling so well. It's a shame that Stosic and Nordell came together. And it looks like Stosic and Murray actually haven't even changed position. They stay in P5 and P6. And Babin makes his way. He's the biggest winner into P4. And Nordell is the biggest loser down into P7. However, not really his fault. Stosic loses the back end there. Murray tries to find a way past, but really has nowhere to go. And I think Stosic manages to stay ahead. And now Babin has a gap and some breathing room. Lap 25 with about 5 laps to go, roughly. Fantozzi and Watson. Watson 1.3 seconds behind Fantozzi. Now he gains the most time on the hill, on the mountain. He did the same when he was behind Nordell. The mountain is his greatest strength, especially in that Bentley. It's so good up there. However, you can't really overtake on the mountain, so he needs to get close enough to get in the slipstream, because the Ferrari straight line speed, you really have to be right behind it if you want to get an overtake done as they come here, as they're coming into the cutting. He wants to get a brilliant run up the mountain here. He does have the pace, he has the faster car. Here we are sitting on board of the Bentley. This is gonna look brilliant right on the limit. I think he will be here. Fairly fresh tyres, fresh bodywork. Here he comes. Look at this, how close he gets to the wall there. Look at that, absolutely brilliant. Now here into the downhill section, late on the brakes, coasts the cars back on the throttle here, late on the brake through the S's. Now into the cutting, he comes, great exit he gets. And now we'll be coming up to Forrest's elbow. He needs to be as late on the brakes as possible to get a good exit. And look how close, he makes up so much ground to that Ferrari, as close as he can to the Bentley wall there on the exit. And now he wants to get close, but I don't think he's quite close enough to be in the slipstream of that Ferrari. That Ferrari has so much straight line speed that I don't think the Bentley, unless it's literally bumper to bumper, can get past. Is he going to have a look into the chase here? I don't think so. Don't think he's close enough. However, he might line up if he gets a good exit from the chase into Murray's corner. He gets a brilliant exit from the chase, and look how close he is, but maybe again not quite close for a move into Murray's corner. This is for the lead of the race. They're going to have 4 laps to go as they cross the line. He gets a brilliant exit here, and Watson's Bentley is now pulling up side by side with Fantozzi's Ferrari. He has the inside line. He's slightly further behind. He has to be later on the brakes, and much later on the brakes. He goes to the inside. He makes the corner, positions the Bentley beautifully, so Fantozzi can't make a counter move, and up into the lead of the race goes Watson. Not only is he P1 in silver, but he is now P1 overall. He could have stayed behind Fantozzi, but when you're that close to having an overall win, there was no way he was not going to try and make a move, and a brilliant move he did. However, Fantozzi, look at that, right on the back of him. However, Watson knows he has the pace on the mountain. He needs to open that gap up, because if he doesn't, Fantozzi might try and move back at him on Conrad straight into the chase because of that Ferrari straight line speed. Here they come into Quarry Corner. Look at the speed Watson is carrying through there. Fantozzi also carrying so much speed, but that Bentley is incredible on the mountain. Look how close, almost touching the wall. Absolutely brilliantly done. And there, a little brush hit the wall as he tries to line up to get the perfect angle through the S's. I mean, look at that, on the limit, as close as you can get without touching the walls. Fantozzi trying to keep up, but that Bentley is incredible on the hill section, and I think he has opened enough of a gap that Fantozzi cannot be in his slipstream with that Ferrari power to re-overtake him. And Watson will be holding on to the lead of this race, P1 in silver and P1 overall. Brilliant drive by him so far. And here we're back on this little group of cars. Babin in P4. He's opened up a bit of a gap, and can I just say, what a recovery drive by the Canadian. After his contact at turn 2 on the first lap and the damage he had to fix, he's now back up into P4. Absolutely fantastic drive by him. And not too far behind him, Stosic in the red Mercedes in P5. He's had a brilliant drive. Also, I think most cars this race have had some sort of damage that they've had to repair. And then not too far behind him, here we are looking on Murray in the Ferrari. He's another one that's had a great drive. And Nordell, obviously, he did a great recovery after his crash from P1 to get back up to P4, and unfortunately he's dropped back down to P7. However, still pretty impressive considering the amount of damage he's had on this car and the amount of damage he currently has on the car as he gets all out of shape coming there. Oh my word, how on earth did he keep that out the wall? But let's hope he makes it to the end in one piece. Here we are, coming down Conrad Straight into the chase for a final time. The Eco Bentley of Watson, the green and black Bentley. Here we come into Murray's corner. What a drive. The first silver driver this season to win a overall race. Will we see another? I'm not too sure. But what a drive by him. And P1 overall by Watson at Bathurst. And not too far behind him, Fantozzi, another great drive by the Brazilian. He's had some good back-to-back races, and he gets P2 overall for the Ferrari. And let's not discredit Howe here. A brilliant drive from the back of the grid. Also a 10-second time penalty in the pits, and he manages to come home in P3 overall. Absolute brilliant drive by him, staying out of trouble, and it was absolutely fantastic driving for him to complete that podium. Brilliant race by everyone.